We'd like to welcome to the annual St. Louis Browns Historical Society Luncheon, William DeWitt, Jr.
Well, thanks for that nice introduction. Great talking to Roy Sievers over here. A little embarrassing when he says Mr. DeWitt. I remember back in 1949 when he broke in, it was Mr. Sievers to me. I was 7 years old, and he was the big star and deserved to be one of the Rookie of the Year honors. During my recollection of the Brownie years, he was the signature player for the Browns. So good to have Roy with us and good to catch up with him. I sort of forgotten we reconnected with the fact that he was a coach on the '61 Reds team. That was a team my father took over in late '60, came in as the VP and general manager, made a bunch of deals that worked out well, and they won the pennant. And he got his second Major League Executive of the Year award there. And Roy was a big part of helping make that happen. But it's good to be here and reminisce about the Browns. The past 20 years, as you can imagine, I've lived and died with the Cardinals. Every game, every strike, every ball, every extra inning game. A lot more than that, obviously, because it's got to be a pretty good operation. Today's a special day for us. We had the annual amateur draft, and I've always been in attendance at the amateur draft. It's changed over the years, but in the early going, there were a lot of decisions to be made for management, and I was involved with that. I still am. There's some strategy that goes about how you allocate your pool of money now, so those types of things. But we have a great staff with John Mozeliak running the baseball operation, and Randy Flores now our new scouting director. But we're fortunate this year we have, I don't want to talk too much about the Cardinals as a Brown group, which is mostly. We have 3 top picks. We picked 24th, 33rd, and 34th. The reason we picked 24th is even though we had the best record last year with 100 wins, we were ordinarily picked 30th. But clubs who gave their players qualifying offers and they got signed by another team. In our case, we had 2, Hayward and Lackey. Those teams lost their first round choice, so we moved up in line. It's part of our overall game plan, which we've stressed for the last 10, 15 years, is to try to capture round choices. And we're able to do it again this year, so the key is having enough of them, having a nice pool of money. We're in the top third of the pool, even though, as I said, we had the best record. So that's the way we need to operate here in St. Louis, and it's so far it's worked out pretty well.
Who Hayward and Lackey?
I can't remember. We've got a pretty good right fielder there right now, Steve Scotty. So, but Lackey's had a nice year. Going back to the beginning, my father actually started with the Browns. I think legend has it he started with the Cardinals in 1916. Actually, it was the Browns. He was 14 years old and talked his father into letting himself off at the ballpark. And I guess they didn't have the underage labor laws in those days. Whatever the kid was willing to do, they had to do it. And I'm sure he was pretty ambitious and aggressive. I'm sure he talked the concessionaire, the head guy, into getting an introduction with the Cardinals, or the Browns, I should say, and said, "Hey, can't you be more fun than Hawk and Bob? Like actually, do some stuff in the office." So he introduced him to Branch Rickey, who was with the Browns, and Rickey said, "Yeah, I can use a kid around the office to run errands, be kind of a gopher, answer the switchboard when the real operator's out to lunch, that kind of thing." So he hired him for the big sum of $3 a week, which, even with inflation, I don't think that was a lot of money back then. I mean, Starbucks are more than that right. But the next year, Ricky moved to the Cardinals, and he went with him. And he obviously had made an impression that he was a go-getter and had some talent. And then Branch Rickey, after a year or so, left for a few years to go into service, and came back to the Cardinals 3 or 4 years later. And my father went elsewhere for that period of time. When he came back, they reconnected, and they were together until 1936. So during the formative years of the Cardinal franchise, when Branch Rickey did such a great job building the farm system, my father was really at the side. It was a small operation. As you all know, a gentleman who worked for the Browns back 20 years later realized, it was small. There weren't many people in the front office, so he got to do a little bit of everything, including going out to visit farm teams with the great Branch Rickey. In 1936, Branch Rickey came up to my father, who had moved up to be farm director and treasurer, said, the Browns are for sale, and you might be able to find somebody by the Browns, and you can go over there and be the #1 guy rather than being my assistant. You can be the #1 guy. And my father, being the enterprising young man at that time that he was, found just the right person. My mother and he were engaged, and they got married in '36, and her best friend was Anita Barnes. And Anita Barnes was Trent's aunt, Trent's here today. And she said, well, my father would be interested. So he talked on Barnes into buying the team, and he headed up the group, and we all became really close family friends with the Barneses. And it was a great relationship for many, many years. So he got a shot of being a VP and GM at the age of 34, which in today's world doesn't sound that unusual. And back then, that was highly unusual. He was kind of one of the young Turks in baseball, and historically, GMs back then had come from either the playing side or the scouting side and worked their way up through the ranks in some part of the playing operation. He had as well, because he was so close to the Cardinal farm system. A lot of clubs didn't have farm systems. And so he took over the Browns in '36 with the concept of building from within, trying to build a farm system. But he knew he was at a disadvantage because the Cardinals, who were dominant, won the first series in '26 when he was there, and then they had those great years in the '30s, the Gas House Gang. And he knew what they had, and he knew the '40s would be difficult to compete with them in St. Louis. And it turned out he was right. The great teams of the '40s, Musial, Slaughter, Chaney's, etc., were, in a way, competition for the Browns. And a little known story for many, many years, I think Derek Gould wrote a story in the Post not long ago, and you all picked it up in your magazine, and I think I probably tipped Derek off to it, was that he and Don Barnes thought it would be great to move the Browns to LA in 1942 for the '42 season. So they worked on developing a schedule. Everybody was traveling by train back then, that they thought could work. They talked to, confidentially, a couple of the senior owners in the game and American League and President of American League, and they thought they could sell it. They weren't drawing in St. Louis. Cardinals were a dominant team, and as whoever wrote this well pointed out, The winter baseball meetings were always in December, first week or two of December. Back then, they had owners' meetings in connection with that. Not so much now. The owners' meetings are either earlier or we had in January. They had an American League meeting scheduled for December 8th, and they were going to try to sell it and get it approved to move to LA for the 42 season. Of course, December 7th, Pearl Harbor was attacked, and that was the end. Baseball was in upheaval. They didn't even know if they'd be able to play with all the young guys having to go to war. During the war, clearly there was no movement, and it just lost traction over the years. 1944, which was referenced here, is sort of the high point of the Browns, at least in the era that I was associated with, I think earlier too. The Browns weren't really panicked, but it was built somewhat from the farm, but also, put together a bunch of scrappy players. Those who, they were 4F or something, but they were able to play in 44. I think my father was opportunistic in putting that group together to play with the Cardinal team. He had some tough characters on that team. I heard some stories. One of the tough guys on that team, before it rose down, was a guy named Sage Cookie. Maybe he's in the alumni group, I don't know, but he seemed to be a pretty frisky guy when he was on the road. But through the years, I got some embellishment of the stories of the 44 Browns that are pretty fun. Back then, as I mentioned earlier, there were pretty small operations, and actually you all had in your magazine at one point a picture of the front office staff in the late 40s, which was about 20 people. And we now have in our front office, and we're doing the same thing. We play, a few more games, not that many more. We have probably fewer farm teams. We operate our own stadium. The Browns operate their own stadium. We have 300 at the Cardinals in the front office. And if you think that hasn't been reflected in kind of everything that we do, I want to hold up a picture of the Browns pennant ring that I have from the family from 1944, which is really a pretty cool ring, and one of the first, maybe even the first team or ring given to pennant rings. And then when we won in 2011, which was a great series, we had a nice ring done. It's a little larger, and you can kind of get the drift of what's happened in baseball in that period of time. But back to the Browns. My father was creative, opportunistic, always looking to get an edge. He got that, of course, from Branch Rickey. And Branch Rickey signed Jackie Robinson, and it was controversial, and only some, I think, of Rickey's stature could have done what he did, and it was a wonderful thing for baseball. We celebrated MLB every year by having the whole team, every team in baseball, wear number 42. Back then it was hard. And if you haven't seen the Jackie Robinson movie, you should see it. It's a great movie. It shows you what he went through and how he overcame the obstacles that he did. But back then, the Browns, then Bill Beck, who was more of a innovator as well, and an interesting personality, became the first American League team in Cleveland to sign a Negro League player, Larry Doby. My father followed up very quickly with two players from the Kansas City Monarchs, Hank Thompson and Willard Brown. And first team, second team in the American League, I think the third overall, the first team to have two players. And I think he thought that, a single player, you really needed something special to withstand some of the things that you might go through in that era. And I'll never forget going to the park the day they signed, or the day after, it was a home game, watching BP, and that was a point in time when I'd go on the field, and it was pretty casual, not for fans. But this particular day was their first day, and I saw them standing together in left field, shagging balls. And it struck me, I was 6 years old, that they weren't really engaging with the team so much. It was more the two of them together. As time went on, even that season, and as they started playing games, it was hard, and I give them a lot of credit for what they did in that period to take a risk of leaving a very comfortable situation in the Negro League, and also having some success. They didn't do very well for the Browns. Browns weren't a good team, and I think that probably reflected that, but Hank Thompson went on to have a pretty nice career, played with the Giants, and Willard Brown not so much, but it's a day I'll always remember. I became a bat boy in 1948. I was on the semi-bat boy, because I used to get before that, I used to get a uniform, and they team-issued uniforms at the beginning of the season. It's not like today where, you have different uniforms, different days. At the beginning of the year, the team would order the uniforms. It was a significant cost of the team's operations. Now it's sort of, incidental. People ask me today, how much do the baseballs cost for pro-season players who throw in the stands, everything else? I said, I have no idea, because it's such, given the revenue that clubs have, it's such a small part of it. Back then, balls were expensive. I know my father, at the Browns, they hit foul balls that hit the roof of the pavilion in right field, they had a big black spot on it. They captured the balls that take the black spot off, and they reset. That's when things are tough. But I was a bat boy, more of an official bat boy in '48. I had my uniform, and nobody had a uniform for a kid. It was all for the players, and they would get a number of them that they would use throughout the season. If it got torn, they'd sew it up. They kept their uniforms. At the end of the season, they're not auctioning them off like we do, or fans in the field there where we give them away. They would actually take the number off the back and send them down to the minor league clubs. They were Roy Crocker remembers that. And they would use them in BP, or maybe even to play, depending on the name of the team. So they used those uniforms until they literally wore out, which is one of the reasons you don't see some of the early players with a lot of uniforms around, because they just didn't keep them, and there weren't multiple issues. But I've got a cool picture of the official team photo in 1948, and there's the real bat boy, the one who got paid, actually collected the bats and stuff. And me, the kid hanging around, in the picture, we're in the front row, kind of kneeled in front of all the team, and it's a great picture and a great memento. A high point I had in '48 was meeting Babe Ruth in June of 1948. And I know you've all seen the picture, not all of you, but it's a great memento, and it was a great moment for me because Babe Ruth was king. I mean, he was it. And in my mind, Babe Ruth still is it. He's the man. And he came to town, he was not well, but I guarantee you, no one looked more dapper. You look at this picture, you probably can't see it out there. Full head of hair, beautiful suit, spit shine suit, shoes, black and white, saddle shoes. The theory was he was going to teach, he went to several law parks, not a lot, I think 5. He was going to teach, show kids how to play. So I was the designated kid, I had the uniform. And I went out there, and he's got a great smile on his face. It's not like, oh, this kind of pain in the ass to do this. I mean, he was really engaging. I mean, if you look closely at the picture, I'm kind of like, this is something. But then he spoke on the mic, and he had throat cancer, as probably most of you know. And his voice was very raspy. He couldn't speak well, but he did speak. And that's how you knew that he wasn't well. And the interesting thing about it, which you would never guess looking at his picture, he died in August of that year. Now remember, this was June. He died in August, and he was 53 years old. So I'm, generally would sit next to the dugout with my parents, and I came off the field, sat in the dugout, had my uniform on and stuff, and people came up to me and said, "Oh, can I get your autograph?" I'm 7 years old. And I started signing, and I signed Billy. And after about 5 years, my mother said, "You better put your last name on there. They may have this for maybe not." I think they wanted some memento of a game when Babe Ruth was there, and he couldn't sign or wasn't signing. So if anybody has one of those, I'd be happy to buy it. I haven't surfaced on eBay, put it that way. But my father, fortunately, always kind of Johnny on the spot, had a photographer take a picture and got a bunch of them printed right away before he actually left town. And he signed, and he had this sort of distinctive green ink. He signed probably 10 or 12 of them. I have 4 or 5 of them that when I signed one for my sisters, he signed one to me, it says to Billy. He had some that just signed his name, but everyone with the date. And sincerely, Babe Ruth with the date. So it's a really impressive and cool memento. So that was, pretty heady time for a little kid to grow up. And, there were some great times I had at the park. The players were always really nice to me. Back in that era, some of you may remember, before the game, players would play pepper, just throw the ball, they hit, got caps, throw the ball. And, when I was 7, 8, 10 years old, they'd say, "Hey, come on in," I mean, I could catch those balls, I did. And, they were, the receivers of the world couldn't have been nicer. And, it was just a great time. But, a few favorite stories that I've got are, one of my favorites, and Roy's right, my father was kind of a tough trader. He always had to sort of scrounge for dollars. They didn't gross a lot at the Cardinals or the Browns, and I read a quote he had years later. He said, "I made a lot of deals. I didn't really want to make them, but I had to keep us afloat." But one of my favorites is in 1951. Roy was on the team. We had a pretty good catcher, Les Moss. So he traded Les Moss in May 17th, to the Red Sox. And he got a couple players back, one of whom was Matt Batts. I remember Matt Batts, played in the big leagues, and $100,000. That's probably like getting, I don't know what today, it's like getting $5 or $10 million today. It was a big, big number. And a player to be named later, because he said, "Look, I was going to play well for you, and you might win the pennant." She didn't. And so between then and the off season, Bill Beck bought the club. And Bill said, my dad stayed there, and he said, you need to close the loop on the deal with the Red Sox, get that player to be named later. And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, who are you thinking?" He said, "Well, here's what I'm thinking." He said, "I looked at their minor league guys, and I'm not going to give you the best prospect or this or that, but Moss really didn't play that well for him. And maybe I can get Moss back as the player to be named later." And he said, "Oh, come on, that's embarrassing. You can't ask for him." He said, "No, don't worry about it. Good friend of Joe Cronin's, he was a GM, and he said, "Let me go back." And so he came back, and he talked to Cronin, and Cronin said, "No, you're right, he didn't play that well for us. But I can't just give you Moss back. I mean, that's, and you got $100,000 in a major league player at bats. And so they packaged a couple other players of not significance, and he actually got last month's back in November of the same year, and he ended up catching again for the Browns. So that was good. And of course, Eddie Goodell in 1951. I had another team issued uniform, and Bill Beck had taken over, and he was great. It's surprising that he and my father were such good friends, because Bill was this extroverted showman and was not popular in Major League Baseball. The other owners didn't like what he did, his antics, and he was critical of them. He didn't go to the league meetings. He'd send my father, and my father was a little more buttoned up and serious. But he and Bill had a great relationship. He really liked him. Bill's wife, Mary Frances, and my mother, Margaret, were very close friends. And I remember when we got married years later, Bill Beck sent us a wonderful writing gift back in 1965. And they stayed close forever. Even after my father died, Mary Frances would always check in. In fact, the story is when Beck wanted to move the team to Baltimore, he just wasn't making it. The American League wouldn't. They said, you can move, but not with you in charge. That was their condition. We're going to bury you in St. Louis. So he ended up signing the team to Baltimore, and he got out. Of course, he came back with the White Sox and ended up being in the Hall of Fame as this great, powerful, important baseball figure who did so many good things. 1948, Cleveland set an attendance record when he was in charge. They drew 2.8 million people. Think of that. And that didn't count no-shows. So 1948, nobody was drawing 2 million people in 1948. And he turned franchises around. He just couldn't do it with the Browns. But some of the funny things in the Beck years that always amused me, even as a kid, were his concept was, I'm never going to announce what my promotion is, because I want people to come every day. Something different is going to happen every day. And you need to buy your ticket in advance. If I tell them what it is, maybe they don't like it, or they think it's not a good idea. But I'll do enough good things that they're going to come on the days that, when they don't know what's going to happen, so they'll come just to find out. And he did a lot of things that people did find out and are really actually legendary. And one of which, and I was at the game, I went to most of the games. In the summer, I went to all the games, out of school. And you all have heard about it, but I got to give you the description. Grandstand manager's night. So I was sitting next to the dugout, and he had these big placards made up, and they would say, like, hit and run, take, steal, punt. There were 6 or 7 things, and depending on the situation, there'd be a guy there with the placard, and he'd stand up, his back to the field, showing the fans, and then whenever got the biggest cheer, he'd get the word to the manager, and they would actually do it. And I mean, can you imagine that happening in baseball today? The pitcher would be down here on the next plane. But probably why he wasn't so popular. We had a person back then. I don't think this was a Bill Beck deal. I think this was just a fan. Her name was Mary. Do you remember that, Roy? I think her name was Screaming Mary or Bloody Mary or something. And we didn't draw a lot of. What was her last name? Yeah, Mary. She'd get in the stands and just scream and like, wow, what's going on? So that was always something I remembered. And then he had the longest hot dog day. He didn't advertise, he claimed it was the biggest hot dog ever made. It took like 4 people to carry it around. And you walk through the stand, they walk through the stands. And if you wanted a bite, take a bite. And he had a knife. If he didn't, but the guys he had to do it, he had the ushers. He'd cut off, and you want a hot dog here. And I mean, it was enormous. And so, you know, that was classic. He had the first bat day, and, you know, I remember getting a bat, but they were brown. And I thought, it's kind of odd, brown bats. And, you know, the more I thought about it, well, maybe that's for the Browns, I don't know. But he, you know, had bat day. And, of course, he had Max Patkin, who was, you know, a coach. Max Patkin was a clown, basically. And he had, you know, red handkerchiefs in his pocket. He'd go to first base, or on occasion, third base. And, you know, he'd do all these antics, and if, you know, he's waving a guy around, he'd get the red flag, and he'd wave him around, and have his hat on backwards, that kind of stuff. And that was hilarious, but that didn't play too well with MLB either. And then Al Shack would come on occasion. The Common Prince of Baseball ended up with a great restaurant in New York we used to go to all the time. He would entertain between games and doubleheader. He'd get on a golf cart or something and go in the outfield with a big bazooka and shoot a ball, you know, where you couldn't even see it, and he had a glove. He'd figure out where it was coming down and go catch it. And, you know, some zany stuff like that. But, you know, they were really great days. So my dad later reconnected with Bill Beck with the White Sox in the late 70s. And, you know, he had a great time. Bill said, look, I'm not going to the MLB meetings. You go to the MLB meetings and represent the club. He did. He went on the executive council and was, you know, a serious owner and had great experience. Another great memory I have, this was a game to see all games, and I was there. And I think Rory was on the team. Had a catcher, Clint Courtney, scrap iron, and playing the Yankees. And of course, we didn't beat the Yankees very often. And I think we got the lead, and I think I've got this right. I know the ending, I know I've got right. But I think there was Billy Martin was on second, there was a base hit, and he came around to score and throw up the plate. And, you know, he took out Courtney. Courtney was a tough guy. He was not happy. So next inning, Courtney leads off, left-handed hitter, not fast. He's a catcher. Gets a base hit to right field, and he just keeps going. Around the first. I mean, they're waiting for him with the ball. I mean, he's from here to the second table over there from second base, and he goes in with his cleats up and, you know, spikes everybody in sight. I don't know if Rizzuto covered or Martin covered, but then Martin decked him, and he decked Martin, and it was a fight of all fights. Both benches cleared. Back then, bottles were in the park and stuff. You know, fans were throwing bottles. I think really after that game, no more bottles in the ballpark. They started getting a bunch of beer or soft drinks on that cup. But that was just an incredible day. That wasn't his only fight either. I think he had another scrap with the Yankees. He was a pretty good player too. But you know, I certainly remember the players. Roy, wonderful player, wonderful teammate and person, great representative for the Browns. Always sad when someone like that gets traded, but he went on to have a great career. Ned Garber was, to me, the signature pitcher for the Browns in that era, 20-game winner for, you know, a team that didn't win a lot of games. And I think the secret weapon for Ned was he wasn't a fireballer to speak of. He just knew how to pitch. He was a good hitter. You know, he was a threat at the plate. And I always heard he was a better hitter left-handed. I said, well, why do you hit left-handed? He said, well, you can't get out of the way left-handed if you pitch. That was interesting. But he was a very good athlete, fielded his position. You know, great guys. You know, he came here for many years. Don Lenhart, of course, Footsie, great. Turley, Larson, unfortunately went to the Yankees. Larson pitching the perfect game in the World Series. Ironically, my father was with the Yankees at that time. And, Don Larson had a little plaque made up, and it was actually a picture of him on the last pitch of the perfect game in the World Series inscribed. And he had a bunch of them made for his teammates and Yankee front office and stuff. And so my father got one of those, and I have that now, and that's a cool memory. But in the earlier years, Uncle Charlie and Chuck, my cousin, always around the games, and we had a great time in spring training. It was in San Bernardino, California back then, which was really fun for me to go out to California. And it was kind of surprising the way we went to California. It was a long way away, and I know they watched the Bucs back then, but we had a good time in California. I went on the train a few times on trips. Got to know Arthur and Milton Richmond. I know Artie before he died, came here on occasion, and had a great career with the Yankees. Artie was a classic, and the way he I'm sure he told you the story, but there were two little kids from Brooklyn. They became Brownie fans because they'd go to a Yankee game and they didn't have any money to get in. Uncle Charlie DeWitt was the traveling secretary. He worked at Passgate. Two kids would come up and say, "Hey, can't you shuffle us in here?" And he said, I can't. And, well, okay, I can. The only thing you have to do is pay tax. You don't have to pay for the ticket. Just pay tax on the ticket. It's probably a dime." And I said, "Well, we don't have anything. We've got nothing." He said, "All right." So, they went on to great careers. Milton head sports guy for the UPI, and he stayed in touch. He used to call over the years. He would always call like on a Sunday. Always worked. My father was always working. And what's going on in baseball? He was going to write a story. So those connections you don't forget. And it was just a great experience for me growing up in that environment. And I think, given the Cardinals situation, when I was fortunate enough to be able to head the group up to buy the team from Anheuser-Busch, gave me a little bit of a leg up, knowing how you need to operate to be successful. Yankees always had good farm systems. The Cardinals, of course, were the model, and we did a lot of things to, I think, help our scouts in terms of evaluation. We had good scouts. We had a great development program. George Kissel headed that up for many, many years, and he was the absolute best. As I say, we're back at it again today, and hopefully we'll continue to have success. But it's always good to think about the Brownies. I've got a lot of memorabilia at home, and I look at it on occasion, and they were great days for me. And so it's been a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for coming.